Hi. So today I just wanted to have this chat with you all because in a lot of readings since the start only, and it's not something newly that has set in. Usually, when it is about a love reading or when it is about friendships or interviews, people often have these questions like, "यार मेरे को हमेशा ऐसे ही तरीके के लोग मिलते हैं," or "Things happen only this way with me," or I keep attracting the wrong kind of men. So, usually, the answer for this, even outside of tarot, and in tarot also, comes out to be that you need to do a lot of self work or you need to do inner work. And then people usually say, what does this mean? मुझे समझ नहीं आया. So, this is my attempt at trying to decode the concept of self work, inner work, phrases like knowing your worth, knowing your self worth, knowing who you truly are, so that it becomes a little bit more easier for you to understand. And once it does, I hope you will start actively working towards it. So, what is self-work? Okay, no, actually first, let's discuss that what are the problem points in any person's life. The biggest problem point in any person's life is that I don't attract the right sort of people. These people can be in friendship. These people can be, the kind of work opportunities that you attract. It can be your romantic partners. It can also be your own personal blocks. Example, like, I'm always this person who starts something and then leaves it halfway. Or, I'm always this person who gives too much in relationships. I'm always this person, who overdoes for everybody. मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगता है. I love being like this. So all of these are possibly blocks. And why possibly blocks? Because you could be a person who really likes, doing a lot of things for people, but then are you getting it back? And if you're not getting it back, then that makes you complain or makes you whiny about that situation or the other person. And you feel, why don't people do it for me? So if you are functioning on this question of that, why don't I get it back? That means it's a problem, right? Because if you were doing it without any expectation and, from a very high detached perspective, then it would not have mattered. So all of these little issues in terms of not being able to find the right people or being stuck in certain patterns or experiencing, somewhat of similar situations, even if like you change job, but you realize that, most of your jobs have just been similar, where you don't really feel that, your worth is understood. So all of these blocks can be fixed when you start doing self-work or inner work or understanding your worth. Before we jump onto these three things, a little going in the background. So the biggest thing that you have to understand is if you want to really work on yourself and do self-work, then the whole concept of मैं ऐसा ही हूँ, मैं ऐसी ही हूँ will not work. If you're one of those people who takes a lot of pride in the fact कि नहीं मैं तो ऐसा ही हूँ, जो है वो उसी में adjust करे, so I'm sorry, but then things will not change in your life. Similarly, if you are somebody who's like, but this is who I am. So there can be two mindsets to the same statement. मैं ऐसा ही हूँ, or this is the way I am. One is a very confident mindset that, this is who I am and people need to accept for who I am. But if that definition of who you are is not very authentic, it's not, with all the unlearning and relearning into the now, it's going to be a problem. And similarly, this is who I am. If it's coming from a victimization or a self-pity mode that, this is who I am, I love too hard, then again, it's a problem because it's not really giving you the results that it's supposed to, right, in your life. So simple thing, you can be whatever you are. But if you're still unhappy with whatever is happening around you and however things are unfolding around you in terms of people, situations, then clearly something needs to change. And be it spirituality, be it psychology, be it science, you cannot control things outwardly. So the only thing that you can control is here and your own self. So that's why the focus on every other page or wherever, like, you would go to visit for this information and try and understand, okay, what can I change or how do I, change things around me? The logical answer will actually start that why don't you first try changing things within yourself? So statements like, oh, this is how I am, मैं ऐसी ही हूँ, मैं ऐसा ही हूँ, no, this is just who I am, I love too hard, it'll not work. So if you're in that mindset, where you want to be like stuck on these statements and be like, no, but why should I change my core? Then probably this video might give you a little bit of insight, but this video is not going to coach you into believing that why you should work on yourself. I believe that's a personal journey and there's a lot of other resources available to understand the why, that why you should change and why the onus is on you. Okay, now the second part delves a little bit on the why, which is that when we say I am like this or this is who I am, to be honest, we are lying to our own selves. Because since your childhood, ever since you were in your mom's womb till the age of 3 to 4, and then further till the age of 10 to 11, you already have seen a lot. You have already subconsciously heard a lot of things. Like some people say I have a very weird phobia. Yeah, since childhood only I have been very stubborn, etc, etc. So all of these traits of yours are actually built in your childhood, during your childhood. And why is that? Because till the age of 10, 11, our mind is still growing, but it has not grown so much that we are able to actually form no, I would change this. So what happens is, till the age of 10, 11, our mind has observed a lot of things which have consciously we have observed, of course, with our senses being there for us. But as we start to grow up, the memories till the age of 10, 11, they start getting repressed. They start becoming selective memories. सब कुछ याद नहीं रहता, कुछ याद रहता है. But all of these things, they form patterns in your mind, and this is a very simplistic way in which I'm putting this thing. So they form certain patterns, certain notions, certain behaviors in your mind. So suppose if growing up you've not really seen a good relation between your parents, so you start believing that either that is the definition of love, where your father could be a narcissistic or your mother could be a narcissistic and do emotional abuse, and you start accepting that kind of love. Okay, because for you that is the definition of love. This is how relationships also survive, that two people who are always at loggerheads with each other, they're still making it work. So if you find a guy who is not as bad as your father or your mother in the relationship, but if they are a 10, maybe this guy or this girl is like a 6 or 7, you still feel this is a lot better, right? So you start accepting this kind of love. And when you do, what tends to happen is that if they also have somewhat of traits of narcissism, emotional abuse, okay, not on a 10 on 10 level, but on a 6 on 10 level, it's still a problem, right? Those are still not very good traits in a person, and you should not seek out a person like this. So that is what the memories till the age of 10 to 12 do. You don't realize, but a lot of things that you observe during this age, they form notions in your mind. Similarly, in regards to friendships also, if early on in your childhood, maybe you were somebody who's bullied or who did not have a lot of friends around and a proper support system, so you just start believing that, I would never have like real friends in my life. Or if you always had a lot of female friends who were very catty and bitchy during that time, then you would just believe that women are never good friends with other women, they are never helpful to other women. Similarly, if during that time you were bullied or you were shamed or you had overtly critical parents, and it's mostly your parents and your school, these two are the maximum things that impact us during that age group. So if you had overtly critical parents or overtly critical teachers, then maybe you've already started your childhood by low self-esteem, low self-confidence. Similarly, a lot of things on conditioning also, the kind of movies we watch, which is your Bollywood movies. हम सब वही देख के बड़े हुए ना, कुछ कुछ होता है, and दिल वाले दुल्हनिया ले जाएंगे, and there's one more which I used to really like, दिल तो पागल है. So when we see the characters in these movies also, any movie which you pick up from the era that we have all grown up in, so they are always showcasing as woman being the fixer for the man, or in some cases the man being the fixer for the women. So the fixer aspect is very big. That's one thing. Then second thing, what you would see is that the chase, that even if a person is not as interested, we are shown that eventually they turn around and they start falling for you. Similarly, the relationships are also shown to be troublesome in a lot of movies, but at the same time they are still the ones that see it through despite all the differences, and they come together, and then suddenly वो happy ending में दिखा देते हैं कि सब कुछ बदल गया. ऐसे नहीं होता. अगर ऐसे होता तो I'm pretty sure काफी लोग टारो, थेरेपी और इन सब चीज़ों के लिए नहीं आते. And these are very much the reasons why in a country like India, concepts like therapy or fixing yourself is not really spoken so much, because again, the conditioning has been such. Our parents also have been taught that no matter what, divorce to kar hi nahi sakte hain, so you have to stick around, you know. Similarly, when it comes to jobs also, kam se kam 1 saal tak to puri job karo, CV pe correct se aayega. So bondage is something that we have been taught and has been wired in our brain in India. And not just India, I think it's a human thing, but I'm just speaking, you know, from my own personal observations. So in India, it is a very big thing that no, you can't break free. Instead, what we are taught often is that, you know, when you stick around, that is like the strongest thing that you can do, and you are strong, you know, if you're sticking around and making it work, how strong you are. Because maybe the generation before us had no other way of looking at it. You know, divorce was a taboo, women were not financially independent, people were having children left, right and center, you know, without thinking about the expenses and so many other things. A lot of children would not even plan babies. So the concepts of being mature enough and being responsible enough to become a parent was not there. You know, you were having a kid just because you had sex, and yes, I mean, the kid happened because yeah, that's how it is, that okay, now because you're married, within a year or something we should have a baby. But the concept of being mentally prepared so that you can be a good parent to a child was not there. Usually the fathers or the earning person in the family would be very busy in earning the money and not like really be available for the children, and the other person who's not you know, the provider for the family would be the one who's taking care of the children if they both have issues within themselves. So then, you know, we just grew up seeing all of those issues and we start to believe that okay, these are normal. See, if something is happening at a mass level now, it doesn't mean that it's normal, you know. I mean, if we really go back to a lot of historical texts also, if we talk about, you know, like what happened in Germany, the Nazis, colonization, just because it's happening to people at a mass, it's not normal, okay? But we are too young to understand that. So anyway, as children, we grow up to believe that okay, this kind of love, like what our parents have, and maybe it's not so great, etc. But yeah, okay, like love like this also exists, and this is also love. Then if we are bullied too much in school, we grow up to be low on confidence. If our parents, our teachers, or people around us are very critical, and you know, if we are brought up in that environment where we are always compared to the other sibling or to other people, very much to our cousins, etc., then what tends to happen is it goes two ways. Either the child starts become this extremely stubborn and I'll make my own way sort of a child, because of which sometimes the rebellion goes in the wrong directions also. Or sometimes the person ends up becoming a people pleaser. Okay, no, you know, I have to prove that I'm a good person. I have to prove that I'm also as good as my sibling, as that cousin, etc. And then we become this overtly doer people pleaser. So I hope I've given you the context that how our childhood impacts a lot of things that we are. Now the floor is open. I would want you to think more about, you know, such situations in your life. Now, whatever has happened during the age of 10 to 11 is what is actually called the memory bank, okay? And what happens is many of us now, if we have had very traumatic childhoods, very bad childhoods, or you know, things in our childhood that we really did not like, we tend to repress those memories, because as we grow up, we just like forget those things, and we're just like, no, we'll figure out our new us, and you know, we'll figure out our own path in this life, and we'll figure things out for our own self. But what we don't realize is it's almost like having a piece of paper. You may choose, okay, you know, I'm ignoring the paragraph that I've written till here, you know, as you grow up, as you start stepping into your teens, and like, you know, as you start adulting, but the page is still full with whatever is written, right? So just because you choose not to look at it and, you know, ignore it, doesn't mean that, you know, whatever is written there is gone. So similarly, till the age of 10 to 12, whatever it is that you have observed, that you have without realizing internalized within yourself, they all form our subconscious beliefs, our patterns, our memory bank. And then very conveniently, as you're growing up, we just choose to, you know, like repress them and forget about them, because you're like, no, we'll take charge and we'll become our own selves. But we don't realize that in that quest of becoming our own selves, whatever we are doing is actually from this memory bank of between the 10 to 12. I'll give an example. So what this means is, okay, suppose you always grew up, you know, with friends who were not always great friends to you in your school, and maybe they were bullies, or you know, like they used to bitch about you behind your back, etc. So as you start to grow up, you start saying, you know, I don't trust people very easily. Yeah, it's a conscious thing, you know, I just feel that, you know, you have to take your time with people, or you know, I don't really believe like, you know, I can make friends very easily. So we start believing this false narrative that this is who we are, that we don't trust people. we don't make friends very easily, and we are very happy being on our own. However, what is actually driving it? You're not even realizing whatever happened to you till the age of 10, 12 is actually what's driving it. Because at that time, when you saw that, okay, people were not treating you rightly, your so-called friends, or they were bitching about you, or they were backbiting you, backbiting about you, yes. So that's when, you start shaping these beliefs. Now the thing is, when you start growing up, you just simply start accepting this side of yourself instead of questioning, but why don't I trust people? People are meant to be trusted. And again, the content, in general, the times that we are living in, which is the Kalyug, honestly speaking, not that people have their basics in place anyway. And I genuinely believe that, the concept of boundaries, giving the other person a space, not, like hounding somebody, and genuinely being happy for people, genuinely celebrating other people's success. I think all of these concepts are anyway just too lost. And let's also not forget, a lot of us in the Indian culture and society have actually grown up seeing a lot of politics within the families as well. So while again as a child we don't realize, but growing up, all that politics also starts seeping into our mind. कि अच्छा हाँ लोग तो बुरा ही सोचते हैं, चाचू तो बुरा ही सोचेंगे, ताऊ तो बुरा ही सोचेंगे, dad side of the family is not great, or mom side of the family is not great. So if you come to think of it, there is so much that we see actually as a child that we've grown up with. And then boom, the moment we feel that we are a teenager and we can take things in our charge, we mindlessly, without even realizing, just keep on going around telling people, oh, we don't trust people that soon, oh, I don't believe in relationships, or no, I've always wanted a boyfriend, or I'm not very confident, or I don't think I'm very good at getting any leadership opportunity. मैं school में भी कभी head girl या head boy नहीं था. We don't realize that it's not actually who we are. It's those 10 to 12 years of experience जो हमें याद भी नहीं है, which is actually shaped up into believing that, oh yeah, we are like totally this person. But that's not true. So first thing is accepting your problem points and your pain points, okay? Accepting the fact that, when you say, oh, this is how I am and I love too hard, I mean, I'm sorry, but that's no flex. There is nothing to show off in this. You love so hard, and that's commendable. That's amazing. But at the same time, if you love so hard every Tom, Dick and Harry, then I'm sorry, you're being stupid. Because if you love that hard, I'm pretty sure your love is damn special. So only few people deserve it. And then you should know that who are those people who deserve it. Ab ye jo concept hai na, this is exactly what is called self-work, inner work, realizations, acceptance, or knowing your self-worth. Now, what happens is, growing up, like I said, we all change our beliefs into thinking, I don't trust people, or I love too hard, I've always been like this, or I don't like confrontations, I can't take a stand for me. And then we just start believing, oh, this is who we are. And then we just classify us into a couple of categories. If you're like the people pleaser kinds and very nice and all, then we are like, no, I'm a very nice person. And if we are one of those people who have always grown up hearing that, you're very stubborn, or you rebel too much, etc., then we just start believing, yeah, people don't like me anyway, I'm just this person that people don't immediately like, because like I come across like that, I have my very different way of thinking things, and yeah, I know that people don't like me. But this is also a false narrative that you're feeding yourself. Come on, you're a human. You're put on this earth for a reason. What's not there to like in you? Just because you want to make your own path. So what happens is, when you feel that people don't like you, is again your mom, your teacher, your father, your friends around you who did not accept you for who you were. And in your quest to project yourself in whatever capacity you wanted to at that time, you just start believing कि ठीक है मुझे तो कोई समझता ही नहीं है. Okay? So a lot of things like this basically shape up our beliefs about ourselves. Now this is called a belief system, which comes from our memory bank. Okay? And in fact, if anybody of you has a very particular or a peculiar phobia, that might also be coming from your childhood. Or you may have, seen something very, observed something and you may not have realized, but subconsciously it may have entered your brain, and maybe that's why you have a phobia of weird things, heights ka, lift ka, etc. Not everything is related to past life. Sometimes it's also, your existing life. So now that you have understood that there is a concept called self-worth, which affects your relationships, how you project yourself in interviews, your friendships, even your personal blogs, that why you're not being able to be consistent, disciplined, etc. You need to understand that the whole notion about that this is who I am, yeah, I don't trust people easily, or people don't like me easily, and 100 other examples that can be given in this context, each to your own, they do not fit. Why they do not fit? Because the moment we start accepting this false narrative about us, we are denying the fact that this is not who we are. We were made to believe this in the 10 to 12 years, in the initial years of our life, when we were too young to understand that, okay, shit, if I'm being told no, or if I'm being constantly cornered for something, it is because I am living in a very overtly critical environment. If I'm being told no for something, it's because I'm living in a controlling environment, where I'm not allowed to express myself or be accepted as who I am. If I don't know how to be open about my feelings or confront my feelings or communicate, it's because I never saw communication happening between my parents, or nobody communicated with me. They simply just told me like, yes, no, karna hai, nahi karna hai, go to your room. So I don't know the art of communication. If I feel I want somebody to love me so badly, and I've always wanted a boyfriend, and I feel I'm such a marriage material, it's because I never got love in my childhood, from my parents, from friends, or whatever. Like, the definition of love is missing, so I constantly feel that void. Or if I feel that, oh shit, I don't want to ever get married, I don't believe in relationships, maybe I saw something really bad growing up, and maybe now I keep on hearing, like nobody finding the right person, and I'm just like, oh, milta hi nahi hai. So all of these childhood impressions form our belief system, our memory bank, which as we grow up we start repressing, and instead we take out the implication, which is main to aise hi hu, from it. The biggest step to self-work is accepting that there is no show off or no flex in saying, oh, this is who I am. Because if you are who you are and you're still unhappy, then sweetheart or dear, it's time to change it, okay? And I'm here to tell you that you can change it, but the acceptance needs to come from you, and not the self-victimization mode. But why should I take the onus? Okay, then don't take the onus. Then who's coming and saving you? Who's taking the onus for you? If you will not take the onus for yourself, if you will not change your thought processes, if you will not work hard, put yourself in newer situations, then who's coming and saving you? You're not living in some fairy tale times, and honestly, we were never living in any fairy tale times, okay? So there's no concept of damsel in distress and your knight is gonna come and save you. Or even for a guy, if you're a bad boy, then some girl is gonna fix you. I'm sorry, you're nobody's job. You're your own job. The sooner you accept it, the happier you're going to be. Okay? Now coming on to what is self. So after you've understood all of this context, what is self-work, inner work, or knowing your worth? It's a very simple thing. See, our childhood experiences changed us into who we feel we are now. Okay? But how about we sit and we create a new narrative? Meaning, like suppose if you have not really seen good relationships growing up, so there is either a heightened need of wanting like the right partner who will finally love you the way you wanted to be loved, or there is a need of not finding a partner and just being like, no, I can't go through this relationship shit. I've seen like it doesn't work with my parents, with relatives, siblings growing up, and now like even when I see people around, everybody's just unhappy, everybody's getting divorced. So this is a belief system. I want you to change it. But how do we change it? And why do we keep on stressing upon like self-work karo, inner work karo? No, find your worth, find who you truly are. This is who I truly am. No. What happens is, it's a very simple thing. When it's about self-work, when it's about knowing your worth, it simply talks about visiting a little bit of your childhood, finding the things that you originally loved doing and going back to it. Suppose if you were somebody who was always interested in Kathak or music, but then that's just a hobby you explored for a very brief period, and then you just forgot about it because life happened, growing up happened, or whatever. And sometimes you often think about it, oh, should I have done it? Or every second or third person is playing guitar these days. I think even I should have like continued with my music lessons. Just do it. It's as simple. Now, see, other nitty-gritties I will not touch upon in this video, which is, oh, how do I find time, this and that, because honestly I believe that these are just excuses and your mind being resistant to the change. When we want to like head out for a coffee, when we want to really get drunk, or whatever, like when we want to take out time for our Hinge and Bumble, we do it, right? So it's the same thing. If you really want to make something work, you'll take out time for it. So yeah, then you go and do your music lessons. Similarly, if in childhood you really loved like making things with your hand and you were very creative, but growing up you never had time for it, maybe you start promising yourself that I'm going to do at least 2 DIY projects on a weekly basis. Oh no, that's too much. 2 DIY projects on a monthly basis. And then you feel nahi yaar akhele karne mein boring hota hai. So maybe you go and find some workshop and you join some workshop. And if you guys follow me since a while, you already know like I could literally keep on doing everything. So you have to be in that energy. And it's not that, I do it with some agenda or some purpose. I just love doing this. I'm a very experience based person. So be it about celebrating special occasions, be it about finding random workshops or doing like random things, I just love it all. So you have to find what you love. For me, I'm a very experience based person. So anything that's new and exciting, I'm like, oh, haan, karte hain now, please. So if you feel that, yeah, there is a part of you which in childhood you really wanted to explore a lot, but फिर उसके बाद कभी ज़्यादा सोचा नहीं. This is the time. This video is your sign that do it. So music is one example. You're a DIY person, that is another example. Similarly, if now in your today's age and time, suddenly you feel that, I think I need to do a little bit of more wisdom reading. What is wisdom reading? Finding certain topics that you find is going to increase your intellectual capacity or your, knowledge bank in terms of having or holding a conversation or about a particular topic. Then you start inculcating that in your daily life. So instead of moving away from your regular content that you watch, your Kapil Sharma show or your random movies and like whatever you keep on watching, you take out every day 5 minutes to start reading about a particular topic that interests you, which could be startups, which could be funding, which could be, I don't know, tarot, which could be spirituality. So you do that. Similarly, if you're like that, I just want to become like a more calm person, I still feel that, there is a lot in me that I need to change, and I think I just need to become like more calm. I need to accept the fact that nothing is in my control. Then you need breath work. You need to read more about spirituality. You need to understand that, there is nothing in your control, but at the same time, everything is in your control. It's a very deep line of there's nothing in your control outwardly, but everything is in your control inwardly. So you start reading about this and you start doing meditation. You take out every day 1 minute, 2 minutes, and then slowly you start extending the time. So this is basically called self-work. Self-work is where you start, instead of thinking about your friends, family, or instead of, just thinking about, why don't I have a guy, why don't I have a best job, you simply just sit down and start first having a conversation with yourself. What is it that I truly want to do? Oh, I really would like to have a workout schedule, or I would really like to go on a walk daily, or I love listening to music in the morning, or I love cooking. There's so many things that will come to your mind when you realize that, if I did not have to worry about finances, what are the things that I can truly do, and start incorporating them. Because what you're doing for your financial security and your stability, that is work, okay? And again, that is, all of these topics are kind of interconnected, but I'll touch on it some other time. Right now, the point is that outside of work, who it is that you truly are. If you are somebody who loves reading, then why not incorporate reading as a part of your bedtime routine? So just start doing things that you truly, truly want to do, okay? Now what will happen is when you do things that you truly want to do, first thing now, your brain is getting already occupied by all the new things that you're going to be doing. And while you're doing that, your brain has a little bit less space to think about that hinge boy who did not text you back, or that bumble girl, who's not like as responsive to you. And you will start discovering yourself. You will start realizing new things about yourself. Like, you will start realizing maybe when you start going for walks daily that, oh, I really enjoy walks. And now if I don't go for a walk like once or twice a day, I start feeling very groggy. So you will actually start realizing that, your mood can be managed by simply going for a walk for 45 minutes. Similarly, if every weekend, maybe you like to paint or you like to do something, like whatever it is that you enjoy, and you've parked aside weekends for that, maybe you will realize that, that's all that you need for a weekend. You don't really need to maybe make a plans for brunch or coffee or whatever, or maybe you need to do that, but after you have done your thing that you want to do. Similarly, if you love, if you love music, you might actually sign up for a workshop, and you might actually meet up more friends and more people there. So this is what is meant by self-work, where you are first being your authentic self. By telling yourself that my authentic self till now is a fake facade. It's a facade. Because ये तो वो है जो किसी ने critical होके, किसी ने मुझे बुरा बोल के, किसी ने मुझे ज़्यादा अच्छा तारीफ करके बोल के मेरे अंदर ये habits डाल दी हैं, people pleasing, being arrogant, being rebellion, etc. Being a rebel, etc. But what is it that I truly am now? Or if there are 3 things that I would want to change about me, what is it that I would want to change? So you start having that conversation, and then you do this. So this has been explored on the hobby front, that, because this is very simple. You just start doing things that you love, and that in itself is the biggest self-work that you do. Then the second thing is, suppose if you say that, I'm very arrogant, or I have a lot of anger issues, I get frustrated very quickly, or if you're anything like me who's damn impatient, then you start working towards it. So because I'm so impatient, I had to literally tell myself so many times that things will happen in the right time. So I do tell that to myself many a times, like when I start losing patience for certain things in my life, and I start feeling what's happening, so I'm like, it's okay, like maybe the time is not there yet. So you talk to yourself. Talking to yourself is the second way of doing self-work, which comes under positive self-talk. You talk to yourself like how you would want your friend or somebody else to comfort you and talk to you, and you start telling yourself that it's okay. There's no rush for anything if you're impatient. If you're somebody who gets frustrated with things, with people, with situations very quickly, you get triggered very quickly. You take a pause and you ask yourself that why am I getting so triggered? Like if somebody has said something very off right now and it just made you damn angry, why am I getting triggered? It's not for me to get triggered, not that the situation is actually happening. And if I'm getting triggered, where is this coming from? Is this coming from me seeing a particular behavior or a pattern in somebody and I know how this leads to? Is this coming from the fact that I know that how this particular situation is likely to lead to? Again, that's your memory bank talking to you. So if your memory is making you triggered कि अरे ऐसी चीज़ ऐसे होती है ना तो उसके बाद यही होता है इसलिए मैं trigger हो रही हूँ. So maybe no, this time maybe the things will change. How will you know that? You will know that when you don't get triggered and when you just let it flow. Maybe this time the outcome or the narrative will be different. So self-work or inner work is basically being very conscious about what you're thinking throughout and working towards it. I'll give one more example, and this is specifically in context to relationships. Sometimes what happens is when we are at a very low phase in our life, if somebody is being very sweet to us and nice to us, we immediately fall for them. Because we are also feeling low. We like the feeling of having a kandha or a shoulder to be like कि हाँ चल कोई तो है. But as you start exploring with them more, maybe you realize that that person is not very intellectually out there. Maybe you are somebody who's like always listening to podcasts or watching interesting sort of content, or always working on yourself and trying to understand how to do better. And they are just somebody who have a very myopic view on life and perspectives, on industries, on work, and you're just like I mean छेड़खाड़ तो ठीक है. Stay quiet, okay? Good dog. So maybe the conversations between you and that person is literally just about, hey, how you doing, how was your day, this and that, etc. And you just have somebody to talk to. But are they actually taking care of you? Taking care of you means, are they sending you surprise little gifts? Are they bringing you flowers? And this is a gender irrespective scenario that I'm sharing with you. Are they actually concerned about, when you start to open up with them a little bit more at an emotional level, that this happened, and then brought back certain memories from childhood, etc. Do they know how to respond, or are they simply ignoring it and are not really wanting to delve into it further? Are you the one who's always texting them, or are they also texting you back equally? Are the conversations a lot more deeper, or are they just very superficial about day, this and that, vagera vagera? You need to start noticing these signs. When you would notice these signs, maybe you would just start realizing that, why am I settling for somebody who's not sending me gifts, who's just not buying me flowers, who's not really interested in knowing what I'm feeling on a deeper level in a particular situation, and with whom the wavelength doesn't match on an intellectual level. I'm so much into fitness, maybe they are not into fitness. So you start observing these things. When do you start observing these things? When you have done all of this, which is when you are truly just exploring yourself, when you are very happy being alone, when you're just finding what you truly enjoy and continuously doing it, be it traveling solo, be it going out for dinners and lunches alone, attending workshops, or starting a random podcast because felt like it, or watching certain different kind of content, which nobody else is watching, but you're like, hey, I love it, and I love watching content on, I don't know, quantum physics or Malayalam movies or whatever. So, when you are truly yourself, this is what they say now, your vibe attracts your tribe. So, when you're truly this, who you want to be, whom you're discovering, you start realizing that, oh, probably this person doesn't really have it that interesting. Because you would realize that they are not meeting a lot of criteria that they are supposed to. On this level, where you're being always this person who's growing and who's doing a lot more than just I love you, you love me too now sort of talks. That's one thing. And second thing, the core of any relationship is consistent care, consistency, actions meeting words. So you will start realizing if that is truly happening or not. How much are they bailing out on you? How much do they cancel plans last moment? How much do they make you wait? And all these little things matter, because then you will start realizing that are you really just adjusting for somebody in the hopes of just having somebody there. And then again, the whole Bollywood notions and beliefs that it's okay, they'll change with time, or takes a little bit of time for a guy to fall in love, or a girl is like taking a little bit of time to open up, like whatever. So you will start not giving out reasons खुद से ही for all of these things. ऐसा होता है ना कभी कभार, somebody is being unfair to us and we just start giving reasons on their behalf. It's okay, I know, they've been keeping a little busy, they have been a little like this, they have been a little like that, but we don't ever shut off the situation only, we don't ever shut it down. I'm very happy adjusting in that situation. The biggest example I get for this is that Shraddha Kapoor and Arjun Roy Kapoor movie, in which he's a drunkard, Ashiki. She keeps trying to fix him, making reasons for him, and the guy also tried really hard to move away from him, to tell him that listen, I'm not fixable, I am too much of an alcoholic, but no, we can try, that's good, but then what is the point? He ultimately ended up losing out his life because he wanted a better life for her. So again, a Bollywood movie is exaggerated, but the point is that this is also what a wrong relationship looks like. That the person is not ready, the guy was not ready because he knew that he's not appropriate for the girl. And then the girl is like that, no, I'll try to fix you. She also questions him कि अगर तुम्हें पहले से पता था तो तुम मेरे इतने करीब क्यों आए? Again, wrong. The girl actually should have realized that what, even if he's coming so close to me and giving me all the love and attention and setting my career, but is this what I seek in a life partner? Maybe he's great as somebody who is a mentor and who has changed my life, and I do need to be thankful to him throughout eternity, but then he's not a good life partner, so you need to question these things. Another thing which we all know, of course, is the Kabir Singh example. So like things like कि नहीं possessive है तो अच्छा है, मेरी care तो करता है, all of these things, they don't make sense, because a person should let you be, they should allow you to grow individually also. Otherwise, see, I'm a tarot card reader. I don't know, and I'm not able to articulate it quite well, but all I can tell you is that I get a lot of cases, where people mindlessly went into relationships, signed up for wrong conditions, that, because it's an intercaste marriage, you would not be allowed to meet your parents later on, or you can't ever speak into your language, or the child will always be growing into our culture, etc. And they come to me for readings now where they're regretting these decisions 7 years, 10 years into the relationships and marriages. So you have to be very cautious. And when you're being cautious, what is the first thing that you can do to ensure that, okay, I don't fall into this trap? You ensure that you don't ever feel lack of love. And how do you ensure that you don't feel lack of love? कि अच्छा किसी के लिए भी settle कर लेंगे. ऐसा होता है ना? When we feel lack of something, we're very okay adjusting with certain things, because we've always seen everything, because the narrative around us has been wrong. In sense कि अच्छा नहीं, हमेशा मैंने देखा है mom dad का relationship ऐसा ही था. So like I gave that example, कि that was a 10 on 10, this is a 6 on 10, this is still better. But you also see relationships that are 0 on 10 when it comes to abuse and things like that, and they are beautiful. They know how to respect each other, let the other person grow, and relationships like those also exist. But when do they exist? When actually both the parties know what their true worth is. So your true worth firstly comes in realizing that I am in this moment right now a product of my memories, my memory bank, and my observations till the age of 10 and 12. So when I say I don't trust people, or like so and so is my life story and this is who I am, no, that's not who you are. So you now sit down and start having a chat with yourself that who do I want to be? I want to be this person who attracts right relationships. I want to be this person who's extremely confident when she speaks and cracks any interview left, right, center. I want to be this person that, has a great group of bankable friends, and maybe the group has only 3 to 4 people, but it's bankable friends that I can really depend upon. They don't bitch about me, I don't bitch about them, and we just like know each other. I want people around me to have very good conversations and understand context of everything, and not se upar se baat kar li. If I say no for certain things, they should be okay accepting my no also. Concept of boundaries, concept of the fact that, sometimes I don't want to listen to my friend all the time whining about a situation in their life, and I should be able to tell them that, listen, zyada ho raha hai, like, can we talk about something else? So once you're clear on this, once you're clear on, okay, this is me right now, and now Kamya has suddenly told me, oh, this is, me just being a product of my repressed memories. So who it is that I want to be now? What is the new me? A little scary, but then you start figuring out who's your new me. Maybe you start by making a list of hobbies. Then you start making a list of things like, yeah, I don't want to overdo for people, because I overdo. They don't do the same for me, and then I don't like overdoing for them. So clearly I'm not happy overdoing it for them. So I only want to do for people who are also, giving it back to me, or doing the same amount of work or hard work for me. So, okay, what does this mean? I think I need to learn to say no. And I think I need to interrupt my thought when I start overdoing for somebody and be like, oh, it's not my problem. I have helped you this much and this is enough. So you need to start having these conversations with yourself. How can you have these conversations with yourself? I would actually tell you journaling really helps. So you can find a lot of journaling prompts on self-work, ego, arrogance. कुछ भी ऐसा keyword डालोगे ना, वो journaling prompts for self, journaling prompts for decision making, journaling prompts for knowing yourself. So you will get a lot of questions which you have to then answer while you are writing it down. So that's how you can initiate this journey of self-work, to realize that, okay, first who you are. सबसे पहली चीज़ है, you have to realize who you are. Once you have realized that, then you need to make an action plan. Okay, so for this I need to figure out certain hobbies or activities that I need to start bringing more into my life. Okay, now I need to combat certain belief systems. I need to constantly tell myself true love exists, but true love ka definition is not what I've seen in all of these Bollywood movies and people just going like crazy over the other person. No, true love means I should be respected, I need to have my space, and I do as much as you do for me, and together we are building a life. That's the concept of love and soulmates and relationships. Similarly, when you feel that, oh, I have this particular negative trait in me, I am very reactive. Why am I reactive? Because I maybe always felt misunderstood, or maybe because I always felt that, if I will not be loud or overtly reactive, I would not be taken seriously. Where is this coming from? Is this coming from childhood, where I had to be heard like in a herd of siblings? Or is this reactivity coming from the fact that, if I don't speak up at the right time, people don't understand? So sometimes, I get very reactive because I don't know how to be confrontational. There are too many possibilities that can, that can tie up with like a simple statement of like, I'm very reactive and I want to change that about me. So once you analyze all of these things, you start doing positive self-talk. Somebody says something and oh, usually this is like the point where I get tipped off or I get reactive, so you make a conscious choice of like ignoring it and being like, ठीक है, मैंने react नहीं करा तो क्या हुआ, like silence is also golden. And this is one example. In certain situations, the reaction needs to be dealt differently, where you need to learn to communicate it. So instead of being very poorly confrontational, like नहीं मैं नहीं करूँगी, मैं क्यों करूँ, मैं ही सबका काम करती रहती हूँ. Instead, you need to be maybe like that, honestly, I have a little bit less time these days. So can I do this much for you, and rest you think you would be able to manage it? So sometimes your reactivity needs to be communicated properly, because you're being reactive because you don't know how to be confrontational. So all of these things you need to realize about yourself. And then when you do that, you consciously practice it on a day-to-day basis. So consciously you practice not being reactive. Consciously you practice that, when somebody starts becoming whiny about a wrong relationship, you're just like, yeah, then leave. I mean, that's the best thing. You should be leaving in that case, and you should not be sitting and, bitching about the person. If you're so unhappy and if they're proper being wrong with you, then leave. Similarly, if you're not happy in a job, what are you doing to find the next good job? And if you feel, oh, I never get my worth, have you tried working on your money mindset and telling yourself that you deserve all the money? And maybe to deserve all that money, you also need to project yourself as really strong and be like, hey, this is what I bring to the table, this is how I can contribute to the growth of your company, and this is why you should be giving me what I deserve. So these are very conscious choices that are made, and that is the point of self-work. You have to accept first the fact that you're living in a false narrative. The false narrative is ऐसा ही होता है, मैं ऐसी ही हूँ, बचपन से हमें यही सिखाया गया है, this is who we are. It's all wrong, okay? And the sooner you accept it, the easier your journey is going to become in terms of, you know, figuring out the new right narrative for yourself. That who am I? I'm this person who likes boundaries. I don't like to be disturbed at certain times. Yes, I love very hard, but only people who deserve it. I don't go about spreading my love, you know, like some Santa Claus, because I'm sorry, I'm not a Santa Claus. So as a human, then I feel bad that I'm not getting the love back. And I've accepted this, that I don't deserve to feel bad. So I'll only give it to people who truly deserve my love. I like doing certain things. I'm very happy doing them alone. And if in your head alone means, oh, I'm so alone, oh, you should pity me, then I'm sorry, you need to change the definition of, you know, how you can be comfortable being alone also. If I'm very reactive at certain situations, then yes, I want to change that, and I want to understand that where is this coming from? Is this coming from lack of communication, lack of confrontation, or some old trigger? Similarly, if I'm an impatient person, like I said, I'm very impatient, you know. So what do I do to work on my patience? Do I literally consciously tell myself on a day-to-day basis, it's okay, whatever's happening is just meant for you? See, you know, it's a conscious choice that you make for yourself. And this, as a very broad thing, forms the whole narrative of what is self-work and inner work. Now when this happens, as you start doing this and practicing this more often now, kuch months nikal gaye, thode aur mahine nikal gaye, and you just start realizing, I will not let this happen again. Like suppose, you know, I'll give one example which I receive a lot. Sometimes many people come to me where they have just gone on like 2-3 dates, and then they're like, oh, will something happen with this guy? And then when I delve deeper, I find out that the guy or the girl is not even texting them anymore, you know, after 3-4 dates. So I'm like, why are you wasting your question? They don't even deserve your question, you know. Like, why headspace waste kar rahe ho? So why is that? Because again, the self-work has not been done. They have not really explored themselves fully, and the whole idea in their mind is just centered around this notion of finding somebody, finding the one. And again, Bollywood, and there's so much of conditioning that goes into it, you know. So when they start doing things that they truly enjoy, and they know that, you know, what they are looking for very clearly in their head, they would never ask this question. Instead, some of my clients have actually managed to work on themselves. They would come and tell me that, you know, I'm chatting with somebody, but forget it, I don't want to ask about him, you know, he barely texts me, I'm the one only who's texting him, so makes no sense. And I'm like, I'm so proud of you, because you already know that this person needs to be canned. Find somebody else who is also equally, you know, interested in speaking with you. And then the conversations need to move to more action-oriented things. They need to plan a date with you. They need to do special things for you. They need to be good listeners, you know, listen to you, listen to your childhood, listen to you, what brings your trauma to you. They need to be consistent with their efforts. So when you do a lot of self-work, you start realizing yourself. So ना आपको ना कभी कभी सामने वाला अगर fake होता है वो भी जल्दी पता चल जाता है. You start realizing that, you know, okay, this person is not very emotionally mature, or, you know, their emotional quotient is not very much on place, you know, the EQ. Like they say things, you know, like certain people, they say things, oh, I love doing this for people, but, you know, you would see, but they've never done it for me, because, you know, they're just living in that false narrative कि ऐसी चीजें करनी चाहिए उससे अच्छा होता है, but action नहीं आता, because then that actually means being responsible. So they're probably lacking responsibility or taking charge and onus of situations. So you start noticing these things, and these things are basically called red flags in any situation. Similarly, if your boss is also, you know, constantly promising you, oh, stick around at the company, we'll do this, we'll do that, but then, you know, and you always stick around, when you actually start working on yourself, you start realizing that, you know, the boss is just feeding me a false narrative. He's just like, नहीं रुक जा, अभी कर देंगे appraisal, तब कर देंगे appraisal, but कुछ नहीं करते हैं, तो I need to make my move and I need to shift from this place. Similarly, when it comes to your friendships, you start realizing that why are you friends with somebody? Like, you know, some people now have a lot of codependency issues also when it comes to friendships. They just want the other person to be there for them all the time and listen to the same topics, the same problems in their life over and over and over again, like for 1 hour, 2 hours daily, 3 महीने हो गए, 4 महीने हो गए, solve ही नहीं हो रहा है. So a good friend you would start realizing would be the friend with whom you can clearly say, go seek therapy, I'm not interested in discussing this anymore, and I don't think I have anything more to contribute to this. You already know what to do. अब तेरे अंदर से वो क्यों नहीं आ रहा है to do this, it's on you. Similarly, when you're exploring all of this and working on yourself and finding your true self and not the false self that you're led to believe, then what tends to happen is your self-sabotaging patterns go away. Which means, like, suppose if you are somebody who's not very consistent with a lot of things in our life, when we start, feeling great with all these newfound little things about ourselves, we want to be consistent to prove to ourselves that yes, this is who we are. So your self-sabotaging patterns of lack of discipline, inconsistency towards your own self, or fear of not being able to start a startup or a side hustle that you want to, or fear of not being so vulnerable too soon कि मैं तो नहीं बता रही अभी, like let me play around a little bit. All of these go away because then you become so confident. You're like, here are things, know all this about me in the first go or in the second or third day, and then let's see where it goes from here. Because if you can't handle this, then I think I need to assess if you're actually emotionally mature enough to like carry on this conversation or the relationship further or not. So a lot of things start changing like that. So yeah, this is it. This is all that I have for this video. I hope this is not very complicated. I didn't have a script or anything for this video. I just wanted to like have a small chat with you all and make you understand the context of things from a different perspective and what is actually meant by self-work. So this is something very small, and there are a lot of steps also in terms of self-work. When I say positive self-talk, to usme aata hai pehle gratitude karo, find your own hobbies, and I keep posting that a lot about all of this on the page. So I would prefer that you actually go and like check a lot of the content on the page, and I think it'll all just start making sense to you. But yes, I hope this made sense. And last thing that I would all just leave you with is that check your conditioning. Whenever you question something and whenever you just feel, oh, this is who I am, or this is how it has always been, check what situation, what content, what Bollywood movie, what mummy papa situation, childhood situation, school teacher situation, whatever, what friend, what conditioned you into thinking and then reinforcing this belief. The moment you just start questioning that, things will just fall into place. So yeah, bye.